There's a monster lurking beneath the depths, a beast that could swallow entire ships whole, a force so powerful it could change the tides themselves. Her name? Charybdis. But what if this ancient legend wasn't just myth? What if it were real? Welcome back, fellow explorers of the deep. Today, we're diving into one of the most terrifying creatures from Greek mythology, Charybdis. But this isn't your usual mythology tale. We're asking a dangerous question. What if Charybdis was real? Hold tight, because things are about to get wild. Welcome back, fellow explorers of the deep. Today, we're diving into one of the most terrifying creatures from Greek mythology, Charybdis. But this isn't your usual mythology tale. We're asking a dangerous question. What if Charybdis was real? Hold tight, because things are about to get wild. The myth tells us that Charybdis was once a woman, cursed by Zeus, the king of the gods, for her greed. In a fit of envy, she tried to steal land from the gods by flooding the surrounding regions. As punishment, Zeus transformed her into this monstrous whirlpool, and for eternity, she would wreak havoc on sailors daring enough to navigate her waters. But the real terror? Charybdis wasn't just a whirlpool. She was death incarnate, waiting to devour anything that came too close. So, now we ask the big question. What if Charybdis were real? Could something like her even exist? And what would happen if she were still out there, lurking in the deep? Let's break it down. In reality, whirlpools do exist, but nothing on Earth comes close to the sheer scale of Charybdis. The biggest whirlpools, like the Saltstraumen in Norway or the Naruto whirlpool in Japan, are impressive. They can suck down boats, and the force can tear apart anything unlucky enough to get caught. But these whirlpools are relatively small compared to what Charybdis is described as. In our scenario, if Charybdis were real, her size would be beyond anything we've ever witnessed, big enough to swallow entire ships. But where would this kind of force come from? Could it actually exist? To create a whirlpool large enough to consume ships, we'd need massive water currents. In theory, a whirlpool like Charybdis could form if there was an undersea trench or a massive current converging with tidal forces. Add to that strong winds or a seismic event, and you could create something close to what the Greeks imagined. But here's the kicker. For it to be as powerful as described in the myths, we'd need some supernatural conditions. That means we're talking about an unnatural convergence of forces, something like an underwater volcano or an earthquake, plus an unusually strong ocean current, all happening in the same place at the same time. It sounds impossible, but nature is full of surprises, isn't it? Let's take a step back. The Greeks weren't the only ones terrified of Charybdis. For centuries, sailors have feared whirlpools and oceanic monsters. In fact, in the ancient world, navigating the seas near the Strait of Messina was a perilous task. If Charybdis existed, she would have had an enormous impact on the development of trade routes, naval exploration, and even the fate of entire civilizations. Think about it. An entire shipping route between Europe and North Africa would be a no-go. Entire fleets would have been lost, wiping out valuable resources and knowledge. And what about the sailors? The terror they would have felt. Charybdis wouldn't have just been a monster. She would have been a force that shaped entire economies. But could something like Charybdis still be out there? Some scientists argue that the oceans are so vast and so unexplored that we can't rule out the possibility of creatures or phenomena that could terrify us. With over 80% of the ocean still uncharted, who knows what lies in the darkest trenches? Whether Charybdis was simply a myth or something more, we may never know. But the fear she inspired? That's real. She's a reminder of the power of nature, of how little we truly understand the deep sea, and of how much danger still lurks beneath the surface. So, next time you find yourself out on the open ocean, remember Charybdis. And remember, some monsters are much bigger than we could ever imagine.